Swing low, sweet chariot, coming for to carry me home.
Before it goes boom, blow, how you like America now? Babylon the Great, so foul. Terror, full-blown terror, spreading like gossip for Gerardo Rivera. Terror, devil to step to the Israelite zone, but they all get enslaved with the scriptures, baby, it's on. We too strong to have a march like a pool, but I'd rather feel my sword to your guts. I'm nuts for the truth and the knowledge of the Bible, when fucking red devils for survival with your house shine. Oh, you forgot about Christ, you crooks, enslaved as holy people with a good book you took. Mercy, mercy, you was bloodthirsty. Now you wanna go to heaven first, see, but pardon me, while the angels and you call UFOs are beaming us up, you gon' get struck with the bomb.
Right, to invade with the streets. America get ready to be bombed with the nukes and it's got to invade with the streets. America get ready to be bombed with the nukes and it's got to invade with the streets. America get ready to be bombed with the nukes and it's got.
And so as we say goodbye to our dark friends and neighbors,
America get ready to be bombed with the nukes and it's got to invade with the streets. America get ready to be bombed with the nukes and it's got to invade with the streets. America get ready to be bombed with the nukes and it's got to invade with the streets. America get ready to be bombed with the nukes and it's got. Fire and it's got. Breaking through the depths of the fourth dimension, I see the cherry.
Shalom, brothers and sisters. Welcome to another exciting edition of The Hidden Truth. I'm your host. I'm Priest Kazakia. With me once again, we have today Priest Tahawan Mayam.
Shalom, brothers and sisters.
We have Priest Arya, Amawan, and we have Priest Ahab.
Shalom.
Okay, we are the Hebrew Israelites. Our school is called the Israelite School of Biblical History and Practical Knowledge. We're located here in Houston, Texas. You brothers and sisters are welcome to come and join us for classes. We have Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, Saturday, Sabbath morning classes, and that's at 9 o'clock, or 8 a.m. It has it on here, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Brothers and sisters, we're also on YouTube. Check us out on YouTube, ISBHPK, and you can also Ustream us. If you're not in town, you can check us out. The same thing, ISBHPK on Ustream, okay, and check out our live classes. If you brothers and sisters would like, you could join us if you're in town, okay. And we're gonna touch on another hard topic that we went that is a subject of Facebook, is a subject of YouTube, and as a lot of newcomers, a lot of new brothers and sisters start getting this knowledge. You got a lot of
controversial subject.
Yeah, a controversial subject. Apparently, it is to some, but this truth, this knowledge has been out for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and this subject of the tribes. When you go to the 12 tribes on there, the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel. Now it's becoming more questioned because you have a lot of people with Christian background, people with Muslim background coming to the knowledge of the truth.
Right.
And then now they want to have their little discrepancies, which is fine. So we're going to be talking about today, when you look on this sign right now, it's Ephraim all the way down to Naphtali on this sign. So, which are the so-called Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Dominicans, the people from Guatemala to Panama, the Mayans, the Incas, the Toltecs, the Seminole Indians, Argentinians, the Chileans, the Brazilians. These 12 tribes, they are the true biblical Hebrew Israelites according to the Bible. Now, we've been over this show before. Okay, we've been over this show many times.
All right.
But for our new brothers and sisters, we're going to go into a little more historical evidence.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because we've if you checked us out online, brothers and sisters, or if you checked out any of the Hebrew Israelites, they touch on a lot of biblical, Deuteronomy the 28, and a few scriptures we're going to hit now also proving about those tribes, Genesis 49, Deuteronomy 33. But we're going to go into the historical evidence today and bring out a lot more facts also.
Right, because you know, just a disclaimer before I go into it, because this happened on our last show, is there wasn't enough scriptures. You guys already got that. You already got the scriptures. We already been giving y'all that, and then you say, oh, that's reaching, oh, that's stretching. So now we're going to give you just cold, hard historical facts. And before the first scripture I want to bring out, Isaiah 1 and verse 3. And the reason we have to bring it out like this is because of this scripture, this prophecy that you don't know. The stuff that Esau, the so-called white man, the wicked, been hiding from you in all their books, you didn't know, but they've been printed before you were born.
Right.
This knowledge been out to their circles.
Right, and it tells you in Revelations that the earth will help the woman. A lot of these historical artifacts, you know, the history, the anthropology, all these things, it helps us. Because another comment that was made is, you know, and they made this on Yeshaya's, when he was edifying a lot with historical evidence. Or if the white man's the devil, then why are you using the white man's books? Well, first of all, there's been documented historical evidence. Right. Why are we going to go to a lot of these books? Because it's document historical evidence. And even when dealing with the so-called white man, they battle amongst themselves, bringing out this evidence. Right. You know, so a lot of these things are recorded and recorded by them. Yeah,
and it's something I brought out in class too, is if you go to court, your prosecutor can't be a gang member. Right. Your prosecutor can't be doing the stuff that you're getting prosecuted for. So the thing is when you deal with the heavenly court, when you deal with Christ being the mediator between you and the Most High, you also deal with an accuser, a prosecutor, which is Satan. And Satan can't be doing the things, you know, in that court. He got to be doing basically his job. So he got to be able to say, hey, I gave him both choices. I gave him a choice. I gave him an out. Right. You know what I mean? He chose that. So when he does his role to tempt you, he puts the books out there. Right. He puts all that out there, but he prices it at $400 while you buy Nikes and Jordans. Right. He prices it at $1,500 while you go put rims on your car. So when you get up there and they say you're going to hell, it's going to be, I put the knowledge out there for you, but you didn't read. You wanted to buy Jordans. So that's why we're finding it for you. Right. And we, like the scriptures say, we don't do it for our own learning, but for all those that seek wisdom. Yeah,
and you know what? I got to say this, and as we go into this topic, once again, all this evidence, these facts were taught by the seven heads originally, which you know, a lot of brothers and sisters know, Masha, Ariah, Yeshaya, Shar, Kazak, they were the seven heads. So a lot of this information that's being brought out has been out. Yeah. You understand? A lot of these, like, to me, this is nothing new. To a lot of the new brothers, this is something new to them. Right. You know what I mean? Like I said, we've done many shows like this, but today we're going to bring out a few more extra books than we brought out our last previous shows. Right. You know, and the thing is that brothers and sisters, once again, got to study and get the evidence. Right. You know what I mean? And go ahead, priest. Well, let's go into it.
Yeah, it's all good. In 933 BC, just to get us started, well, read that scripture I told you to pull, Isaiah 1 verse 3.
Isaiah chapter 1 and verse 3. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib, but Israel doeth not know.
See, Israel doesn't know. You 12 tribes, you don't know who your master is. You don't know who you are. So that's what we got to bring this out. This cold, hard, historical, factual evidence we got to bring out through these books, because Israel does not consider. You don't even think about these things. You're out there just, when can I get my next dollar? The white man got you in his system and you're done. So we got to bring these things out. We got to bring out this information through these books, because you don't consider the Bible no more. You think that's a religious book. You let them goad you into thinking this is a religious book only, and it's not historical fact. So we're going to give you what they know that you don't know, because you don't know. The scripture's showing that.
Right. And a lot of these books also, we got to say it, we said it last show about proving who is Esau and who is Edom. But a lot of these different historical books, a lot of information is on point, and they mix some with a lot of falsehood.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like we were talking about the author Coelho of the 13 tribes.
Right.
They bring out the information that who the so-called Jews are and who the so-called white man is,
Right.
but they always don't give you it fully.
Right. They don't tell you who the true Jews are.
Yeah, they're not going to tell you
Right.
exactly. They're not going to say the black man is the Jews in America.
Right.
It ain't going to come like that. That is what's been hidden.
Right. And the scriptures tell you it's the glory of the Most High to conceal a thing.
Yeah.
It's the glory of kings to find it out.
Right.
You know what I mean? To find those things out that the Most High got hid in the earth.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the man of eloquent words, he's known near and far.
Right.
But a wise man will catch him when he slips. So as you get this basic knowledge that we're going to give out, this anchor, that's what it should be, an anchor. It should keep you from blowing away in the storm that, oh no, these people know this. Now, you should also be anchored in the scriptures and know that, okay, not
right,
all of
because
this
the only
scripture.
reason why we're
Right.
using it
Right.
is because it backs the evidence in the Bible.
Exactly.
Let's say that again.
Right.
The only reason why we're using these books is because a lot of these books bring and solidify the evidence of the scriptures. Right, what the scriptures has been showing. So
Right.
let's go into it.
And just to give you the history on Israel, the actual land and the nation, in 933 BC, the kingdom of Israel was divided in two parts.
Right.
Went on previous shows. All right, you had the northern kingdom, which consisted of 9.5 tribes. The southern kingdom was 2.5 tribes. That's where David and his people ruled over, his ancestors ruled over. Israel is the other 9.5 tribes. So when you see that sign that we're going to put up, you got from, like he said, from Simeon, Zebulun, Ephraim, Manasseh, Gad, Reuben, Asher, Naphtali, and Issachar. You have those tribes. Those tribes are who we're going to be talking about today. They had left by 722 BC. They were taken away captive by the king of Assyria named Shalmaneser. They were taken away captive back over Jordan into his land, and they fled away from him by boat down the Euphrates into the Indian Ocean, around the southern tip of Africa into the Atlantic Ocean, and then came to the southern Americas. And that's what we're going to be dealing with here. It wasn't the Bering Strait, and we're going to go through that also. It was not the Bering Strait. When you see that, you're going to know it was not the Bering Strait. The Chinese didn't come over here and become the Indians. Yeah. All right.
You know what? That other image, if they got the other image there about the two kingdoms, you know, it was some I wanted to show you on there. But maybe when they throw it up, go ahead.
Right.
Go ahead.
But again, like what was being brought out was, you know, you had the southern kingdom where Rehoboam, which was Solomon's son, he ended up ruling over that.
Okay.
The northern kingdom that we're dealing with here is where Jeroboam was ruling, which was Solomon's servant. All right. So we're gonna go to 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 5. And we're gonna hit that. We're gonna hit the scripture and just to get a few scriptures out there so you can get that lead up. We're going to 2 Kings 17, verse 5. And also, brother, if you can get me 2 Esdras chapter 13, verse 40 in the Apocrypha.
2 Kings chapter 17 and verse 5. Then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land and went into Samaria and besieged it 3 years. And in the 9th year of Hoseas, the king of Assyria took Samaria.
Right. So what we're finding out here is the captivity that happened to the 9.5 tribes. The king of Assyria, as I just explained, he came down, conquered Samaria, and he took those, and he basically surrounded Samaria for 3 years. Northern Israel got taken away captive over the Jordan. They fled away from him, like I explained earlier. Go ahead.
And carried Israel away into Assyria.
Right.
Go ahead. And placed them in Halal, in the harbor by the river of Gozan.
Is that verse 7?
No.
Read on.
And in the city of the Medes.
Go ahead.
Verse 7. For so it was that the children of Israel had sinned against the Lord their God.
Right, and this is the reason. Not because we just were being punished for no reason. We sinned against the Most High. So he took us, he put us in lands like with the Persians and the Medes, which will be modern day Iran. He put us in all these different places. That's why you see dark-skinned brothers and sisters over there. So again, we're not relegated to just that sign, but at the same time, we focus on those people on that sign so that you'll understand that if you are a part of them or joined to them by nationality, then you are joined to them scripturally and spiritually and ethnically. All right, read on. Was that verse 7?
That was verse 7.
All right, give me 2 Esdras 13 and verse 40. And again, I want to hit these scriptures so you guys can see the history.
And this is the image right here that I was having them throw up there. But if you look on this sign here, wow, you can't really see it. But if you look on this sign here, if you look on the left-hand side, now it's divided into the kingdoms here. But one part on this sign, if you got the other image, switch it. So they can, there you go, right here. Now it's still hard to see, but on that image right there, if you look under the right side, it's basically telling you that according to 933 BC, what the so-called historians think, or what they say, is that after 933 BC, the children of Israel ceased to exist. This is according to their historical, their records, or how they want to put it out there.
Right.
Now, we know that's a lie because what the scriptures say.
Exactly.
You know, but once again, if you look at here, and this isn't a good picture. I thought it looked better when we took it.
Right.
But if you look on that left-hand side where it says Kings of Israel, under that it says in 933 BC, the children of Israel went into captivity and then ceased to exist.
Wow.
And this is the lie that they want to tell us, is that the Israelites are no more.
Right.
You understand?
It goes right along with Psalms 83. Let us cut them off from being a people before it.
Right,
you know what I mean? This was a conspiracy that these nations conspired and joined up against us.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we read that in a lot of our history breakdowns as well.
Right.
So you can watch our YouTube videos and check out those histories, and you'll see that we broke that down before. So that's why we're focusing on the books this time.
Right.
Go to Jeremiah 31:35, just on the point he was bringing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jeremiah chapter 31 and verse 35.
Yeah.
Thus saith the Lord, which giveth the sun from the light by day, and ordinances by the moon, and of the stars for the light by night, which divideth the sea when the waves thereof roar.
Right.
The Lord of hosts is his name.
Yeah.
Verse 36. If those ordinances depart from before me.
So the ordinances the Most High set up, he's talking about the sun, the moon, the stars. If those ordinances, those things he ordered, if they do what? Read.
If those ordinances depart from me.
Right. If they depart from the Most High, if the sun burns out, if the moon blows out, if the stars fade out, then, read.
Saith the Lord, then the seed of Israel.
Then the seed of Israel, read.
Also shall cease from being a nation.
Right. That's when they'll stop being a nation. Not when the white man puts out a sign that says they cease to exist, but when the sun blows out, when the moon is gone, when the stars fall. That's when Israel will stop being a nation, and that hasn't happened yet.
Right.
Look up in the sky if you don't believe me. That hasn't happened yet, so we're still here as a nation, and that's what we got to do, is find out who we are and what happened to them. So we're going to go to the book they took out while they were doing their conspiracy, the second Esdras in the Apocrypha, chapter 13 and verse 40. And this is also known as the fourth book of Ezra. All right, in English or in Greek, when they changed it, it became second Esdras, but this is actually the fourth book of Ezra. So you have Ezra, Nehemiah counts as the second book of Ezra, and then you have first and second Esdras in the Greek.
Right.
All right, so he's going to go to chapter 13 and verse 40 through 44.
Second Esdras, chapter 13, verse 40. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king.
Right, so what Esdras is being shown by the angel is the tribes that made it into the kingdom. They're getting palms by the angels and everything. They're getting crowned by Christ. And he's asking, who are these people? So he's telling them, these are the 10 tribes, what we read about in 2 Kings. They're the 10 tribes that were taken away captive in the time of Hosea the king. Read on.
Whom Shalmaneser, the king of Assyria,
which is a historical figure, Shalmaneser. You can read about him, Google him, encyclopedia Shalmaneser. He's an actual historical, factual figure.
Right. So once again, the Bible's history.
Right.
You know, it's not this fable or made up.
Right. It's not an allegory.
Right. There you go. Go ahead.
Led away captive, and he carried them over the waters.
Go ahead.
And so came they into another land.
Right, so that's how they ended up in Assyria, and the Persians and Medes. He took them away from Israel over the waters, over the Euphrates, over the Jordan, right, and got them into Assyria. They came into that land. Read on.
Verse 41. But they took this counsel amongst themselves.
So while they were in Assyria, they started getting together and saying, we got to free ourselves from the Assyrians. Go ahead.
That they would leave the multitude of the heathen.
So they were going to leave the multitude of the heathen being any nation outside of Israel, which is where they were dwelling then. They left the multitude of the heathen. Go ahead.
And go forth into a further country.
Right. And they wanted to go to a further country, read.
Where never mankind dwelt.
Right. Where never mankind dwelt. Nobody was ever there before. Go ahead.
Verse 42.
So not the Chinese, not the Japanese, not anybody crossing the Bering Strait, not the Siberians, none of that was over there.
Right.
Go ahead.
Verse 42. That they might there keep their statutes.
And their mindset was, oh, we'll keep the law, statutes, and commandments of God in Christ over there in that faraway land, far away from Israel, far away from the Assyrians. But, read.
Which they never kept in their own land.
They weren't even doing it in Israel. Go ahead.
And they enter into the Euphrates.
So this is showing you the direct route. They went through the narrow passages of the Euphrates, right? They brought ships there because the Most High made it flood there. Go ahead.
By the narrow passages of the river.
Go ahead.
44. For the Most High then showed signs for them and held still the flood till they were passed over.
Right. So he basically backed up the Euphrates. Not only that, but you got that Persian Gulf. The river that empties into the Persian Gulf, he held that back and flooded it at one point. And you can look that up historically, that river was actually flooded and overburst its banks so that a boat would be able to go down there at around 722 BC. Read on.
2nd Ezra chapter 13, verse 45. For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half.
So after they got into the Indian Ocean, went down into the Pacific Ocean, went around the southern tip of Africa into the Atlantic Ocean, that way took them a year and a half. All right, go ahead.
And the same region is called Arsareth.
Arsareth or Atazar, I think it is. I'm sorry. Azareth was, I'm not saying it right in the Hebrew. I got it.
Right.
Aratazas. Excuse
Okay.
me. Aratazah is basically land, and then that last ending, Rath, meant another land. So what you're reading here is that they went into another land that wasn't named yet. It wasn't named after any person.
Right.
Not America, not none of that. So that was how they got here. It took a year and a half for them to get to the other land where never mankind dwelt.
Right. So we're talking about, brothers and sisters, if y'all tuning in, we're talking about the 9.5 tribes.
Right.
Which, if you put the sign up there, the 9 tribes, and we say half because Levi always went with all the house of Israel. So we're talking about right now the tribe of Ephraim on down to where you see Naphtali right there. We're talking about the 9.5, how they got to America.
Exactly.
Okay, and the prophecies.
Right.
2nd Ezra 13. Go ahead.
So read the rest of that.
Verse 46. Then dwelt they there until the latter time.
This is the angel telling Esdras that's where they dwelt until the last days. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
And now when they shall begin to come.
And when they begin to come to Christ, that's where they'll be. So they weren't going to come back to Israel. They weren't going to come back to Egypt. None of that. They were going to be in that land where never mankind dwelt, in the Americas, southern, central, and north, until the last days. All right? So from there, go to Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 64.
Right. Just touching on one of the main curses.
Right.
When we deal with the nation of Israel.
Right.
You know, and I'm glad we're bringing out these scriptures, to reiterate for the young brothers and sisters. First of all, biblically, we're establishing this.
Exactly.
Then historically, we're going to dig into it a little more deeper.
Right.
And then, with the biblical evidence, and then what even Esau as recorded also.
Right.
So, this is good.
Go ahead.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 64.
Now, this was a curse placed on only Israel. All right. And another thing, just to address this and knock this out, was that they say that, when did those tribes ever go in ships? Well, that's what we're establishing here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They didn't go into slavery in ships. Yes, they did.
Yes, they did.
They just did it before the so-called Negroes.
Right.
They were sent into captivity first in ships. They had to leave Assyria, come to that other land by ship. And then they end up being enslaved by the white man.
There you go.
See that? So yeah, they went through the same curse. But read that.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people.
So this was a curse to Israel. He was going to scatter Israel among all people. Now this is a curse of disobedience. So when you read Deuteronomy chapter 28, you're going to start at verse 15 and see the curses of disobedience. This is why we were cursed. Not just because it was meant to be, but because we left off the statutes and commandments. Go ahead.
From the one end of the earth, even unto the other. And there thou shalt serve other gods.
Right, and in that land you was going to serve other gods, read.
Which neither thou nor thy fathers have known.
Right, which your fathers didn't even know about these. You're going to go over there and start worshiping totem poles. You're going to start smoking weed out of your head. You're going to start doing, because those are gods that were going to be newly sprung up. We're not talking about Molech and the gods that were in Egypt. We brought some of those too, but then all of a sudden you get over here and they're worshiping totem poles, the moon, the stars, the sea, the wind, you know what I mean, the painting with all the colors of the wind and all that. This is what happened to the Native Americans. They started, when you read this book, The 500 Nations, they tell you that they don't even know their origin. The Native Americans don't have a real origin story. When you go from tribe to tribe. One of them says the Wanaka Tonk invented everybody, or one of them says a giant kid died and his blood became the warriors and all this. They don't have a real origin story like every other nation will say. It's more like, you know, like a fable of how they existed. But once in a while, you hear the tribes bring up the name of Yahweh, or they'll bring up the name of the one creator. See that? Instead of worshiping the ground and the pagan things. So we're going to go into that also. But here, we started worshiping other gods, wood and stone, and that's what the Native Americans are known for. The so-called Mexicans, Incas, Toltecs, Mayans, they became known for worshiping these other gods, worshiping these totem poles, and now they're worshiping death in Central America and Mexico. They're worshiping Dia de la Muerte and all this. So we got to tie these brothers and sisters back into Israel and show who they are. All right? Where you at?
Last precept of 64. Deuteronomy chapter 28, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone.
Right, so wood being that cross, the Jesuit priests came over and forced on the Central and South Americans and the so-called Mexicans. They said, worship this cross or you're going to die. We're going to kill you, rape your women, and kill your children. And stone, talking about that Kaaba stone, where a lot of brothers and sisters got into worshiping Islam and worshiping the Kaaba stone. Also, the Central and South American tribes started worshiping stone statues and stone works, started bringing brothers up to pyramids and ripping their hearts out and throwing them down the stairs. And you can watch those movies, Apocalypto, they illustrate that really well, that this is how it was done when we came over. All right, so now we're going to go, now that we've established the scripture part, we're going to go into the actual histories. We're going to go into, well, the histories, the other histories, what they got is history.
What is recorded.
So from there, we're going to go to Lost Tribes and Promised Lands. This is this book here. To show you how deep the white, you're going to go to page 79, to show you how deep the wicked have hid this book, to have hidden this knowledge. Google this book right now. It's $400 to start on Amazon, used. $1,500 brand new. I happen to have a brand new copy, all right, because that's where we put our diligence into. All right, so you're going to read at page 79, that highlighted version part right there. There you go.
But meanwhile, the Apocrypha Esdras, which was, by the way, a book of special importance to many new Christians.
Right, so what we're finding out is this book, the Apocrypha, was used by Columbus. Y'all see that? This book was used by Columbus and many new Christians before they took it out of the Bible. So this will establish the Apocrypha as an authority of what happened to the 9.5 tribes.
Check that out.
See that?
Now these are so-called non-biblical facts. You know, this is straight historians, man. When they came over here and conquered Israel, they documented this.
The things you don't know. The things Israel does not know and consider. Read on.
Has a good deal to say about the original lost tribes.
See, the Apocrypha has a good deal to say about the original lost tribes. Go ahead.
And this could not have passed lightly under Columbus' somewhat mystical gaze.
So what they're saying is this was a book that Columbus would have picked up in a heartbeat because he believed in the Bible, he believed in the prophecies, he believed in the book of Isaiah as we go on.
Right, right.
But read on.
Surely he saw special meanings for his own times and for himself. And this passage in 2nd Ezra, chapter 13, verses 2 through 5.
Right. So what we're seeing is he believed in the Apocrypha. He believed what was in there. That's how he found the New World. Right, and another book we're going to get, you're going to go to page 15 in this book.
They used our information. They used our documents to go over there and find us, and in return, rape, murder, pillage, destroy.
Oh, yeah.
You know.
And matter of fact, when you read that book, this book we're bringing out now, it's called Christopher Columbus and the Participation of the Jews in the Spanish and Portuguese Discoveries.
Wow.
As you read this book, you find out Christopher Columbus hung out with the Jewish population that was in Spain so that he can get navigators, so that he can get knowledge on how to get to the New World. Because he knew it was there according to the Bible, or Bible and Apocrypha.
Right, right. So once again, this is historical facts written outside the Bible that proves that us Israelites ain't running around just saying the 9.5 of the Mexicans, the Brazilians, the people of Peru, Colombia, Uruguay.
Right.
They are the true biblical Hebrew Israelites.
Right.
This is more facts to substantiate the Bible.
Exactly. Though we're not just trying to, back up why we married certain women and all that.
Right.
That's what I'm hearing. It's like brothers want to justify marrying the heathen and all that. It's like, no, bro, it's not that. It's not that
serious.
We ain't gonna teach the Bible and try to deal with the heathen. That don't make
sense.
Well,
we're dealing with, once again, and I'm gonna keep saying it, we're dealing with a lot of new brothers and sisters that really just barely got in.
Exactly.
So they're trying to understand this.
Right.
But here it is.
Right.
Here's the facts and here's the evidence.
Or they left the
scriptures.
Camp. Yeah. Oh,
no, go ahead.
No, I was saying, or they left the camp before their elders could expose them to these books.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I got these books off of old tapes.
Right.
Watch your brothers break down old breakdowns off of old tapes.
Right.
And knowing my elders, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And talking to you, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. But if you leave a camp, you don't have that resource. You don't have that knowledge base. But go ahead, read that. We're in Christopher Columbus and the participation of the Jews in the Spanish and Portuguese discoveries. Read that.
He was also very fond of reading the Bible and the 4th book of Ezra.
So another book substantiating that Christopher Columbus used the Apocrypha to discover the Americas.
Use 2nd Ezra, or we're saying 2nd, but it's known as 4th Ezra.
Right.
Right? Mm-hmm. And they used the Apocrypha to guide him to understand where the children of Israel were.
Exactly.
Check this out, man.
Yeah, go ahead.
Which was probably written by a Jew who lived outside of Palestine.
There you go. Go ahead.
According to his own assertion, the incentive that impelled him to plan his discoveries was not a love of science.
Right, so he wasn't trying to discover if the world was round. He already knew that. He read the Bible. He wasn't trying to discover new plants and animals and plankton or nothing like that. He was on a mission to get to the New World. He knew it was there. All right, go ahead.
But his interpretation of the prophecies of Isaiah.
See, it wasn't his love of science, but his interpretation of the book of Isaiah, the book of Esdras, the book of Ezra. He knew those books, and he knew there was another side of the earth.
Right, that the children of Israel was going to be scattered out of their land. They were going to be scattered across the world, and that they wouldn't come into their homeland.
Exactly. And
Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter and the 68th verse.
Right.
You're going to be brought into this other land, Egypt, bondage, captivity, and sold as slaves.
There you go. And, you find out that a lot of people, a lot of scholars of his time and before knew that there were the lost tribes of Israel, that they weren't disappeared, that they were on another part of the earth. And that's what we're going to go to in these books.
Right. And once again, it's like you said, this information, the elders brought this. The elders brought this out. But here's the thing, that they didn't just come up and just say, okay, we want to choose these ones as tribes.
Right, right.
This is the facts. This is the evidence.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, brothers that are bringing up new doctrines, where's the evidence?
Right.
Where's the facts? If you're saying the Filipinos or the Eskimos or the Samoans or Israelites, well, where's the historical evidence?
Right.
You know what I mean? In facts, because remember, the high priest, they went into the Bible, but then also the Bible and history linked up.
Right.
It was undeniably
Right.
you can't go against it. It came together right on time.
Yeah, so they gave the sense in Nehemiah 8 that they gave the sense of the scriptures. So
Right.
They didn't just start reading the Bible, they gave the sense. They made sense out of it. How? Look at the world, look at this, look at that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just like Solomon, he didn't just quote scriptures, he gave you knowledge. Look at the ant.
Right.
Look at these things. So
That's why it's like we were talking about earlier on the way here, is that who gives these young men the right to go into the doctrine and change it?
Exactly.
Who gives them the right? You know what I mean? They haven't even studied long enough. You know, like we were talking about High Priest Yeshaya studying for 40-something years. But you got a brother that comes in the truth 1 year, and then all of a sudden now he's going to change up the Like, who are you, man? It's just crazy, man. But just showing you that the facts go right with the scriptures.
There it is. There it is. Give me the Christopher Columbus book. We're going to go to page 95, and we're going to find out that there was a lot of scholars that knew that the tribes of Israel were not lost, that the 9.5 tribes were not lost to history, to the Most High.
Right.
All right. And
wow.
These tie up with a lot of scriptures. If you can find that one for me, as corn is sifted in the sieve.
Yeah, we'll get that.
All right. But just on that, these people knew by reading the Bible. We just read it in that book. That Christopher Columbus knew it. These other scholars, part of a scholarly learning was to know the scriptures. You had to learn the Bible. That's what you don't know, what you don't consider. Read on.
To what race did these Aborigines of America belong? Several writers have asserted.
He says several writers, if you're reading that right there. This is from that Christopher Columbus book. Several writers have asserted, go ahead.
And have displayed much learning in attempting to prove that the Aborigines were descendants of the Jews.
There you go. So several writers knew this. Writers, people that have to research and get evidence and put it all together in a book. They have to do deep research, and they asserted, meaning they were confident that those people, the Aborigines of America, were descendants of the Jews. And go from there, go to the next page, page 96.
Wow.
Go ahead.
Montesinos, who possessed the manuscripts of Luis Lopez.
Right, so this is another scholar. He possessed manuscripts, meaning these are books that he was reading. All right. Montesinos, go ahead.
The learned bishop of Quito was convinced that the Peruvians were of Jewish origin.
So the Peruvians, what we would call the tribe of Zebulon.
Yeah, put the 12 tribes sign up there again. That's why I don't want to do too much talking, because I want the facts to come out.
Right.
Look at, man, when you deal with these tribes right here.
Right.
Remember, these are names that they just put on us. Puerto Ricans, Cubans, Dominicans. But we're talking about the Aztecs, the Mayans, the Incas, the Toltecs, the Peruvians, the Brazilians, Brazil, and what's the other one?
Argentinians.
Right, Argentina, all of them.
Right. So right in between Guatemala to Panama, this is where the Peruvians were known as what? Read it again.
Peruvians were of Jewish origin.
See that? That they were of Jewish origin, that they were Jews originally.
Right.
Before they came over. All right, so we're finding this out in history. We're finding this out in the books, in these historical books, these scholar-written books, that these are the tribes of Israel. This is how they felt about those people. All right, read on.
And remember, once again, we're talking about these guys that came over here to America.
Right.
That as they came over here, supposedly wanting to find out, but also rape, robbing, murdering. They understand what was going on, which was the prophecies.
Right.
They were trying to stop. There's another book we got. It might be.
I'm
jumping ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's all in there.
Go ahead.
Go from there. You're on page 96. Keep reading.
The view of Roldan and of Gregorio Garcia that the Aborigines of America were descendants of the Jews.
Mm-hmm. Right. See, this is an idea that the original people in America were descendants of the Jews. It says it was maintained with many arguments. So there was people debating this and doing the Socrates thing, just philosophizing and letting everybody know.
But what didn't they have? The Bible.
Right.
They didn't have the Bible. The Most High said the books will be closed, and then the Most High will open up to his servants, the elect. Amos 3, verse 7. You don't have to go there, but the Most High did do that.
Right.
He said he would bring Elisha to bring back the knowledge.
Right. Yep.
Right.
Right. He's Moses, and he was going to bring all these prophets back to give those nations that were gathered in Esdras, that he was going to give them that knowledge.
Right. Right.
All right. Where you at? Oh, keep reading that. Finish the rest of that.
Was maintained with many arguments in one and the same year, 1650, independently by the Englishman Thorogood.
Right. So now we're dealing with Spaniards. We were dealing with Italians, Montesinos, and these Spaniards. Now we're going off to further north into Europe, into England, and we're finding out that okay, the Englishman Thorogood and Kingsborough, these men, they spent their fortunes.
Wow.
They spent their whole fortunes, went bankrupt, trying to prove that the lost tribes were here. So read that.
And by the Portuguese Jew Manasseh ben Israel.
Right. So you had a man that lived in Portugal, a Jew named Manasseh ben Israel, and he wrote a book called The Hope of Israel, as a matter of fact, and several other books, and that proves that those people are the lost tribes of Israel.
Wow.
So these are many scholars. You can look them all up. All right, this is not made up people. This is not allegory. This is not anthropomorphized from Egyptology.
Yeah, there you go.
This is
facts, evidence.
Right, there you go. These are people that lived and wrote books that you could still buy if you saved up your shoe money and went and bought them.
Right,
or you went to the library and checked them out. You can get these. Some of these they lock up in the Library of Congress, so you don't know.
Yeah.
That's just show you that it's worth something. That this knowledge is something that's been hidden from you. All right. So from there, we're going to go to another book. It's called History of the American Indians.
Right. I got that Amos 9:9 waiting for you if you want it.
Oh, read that. Read that.
Amos chapter 9 and verse 9. For lo.
History of the American Indians? Yeah, we got that. We got that.
All right.
All she has to do is throw it up there because I left the book.
Go ahead. Read that.
Amos chapter 9 and verse 9. For lo, I will command, and I will sift the house of Israel among all nations.
Right. So he said he was going to sift the house of Israel among all nations. And this is talking about the 9.5. This is talking about Judah and Israel. Mm-hmm. The 2.5 tribes and the 9.5 tribes was going to be sifted. There was not going to be no special preferential treatment. It happened to the 9.5, and then Judah had to stay over there so that Christ could come into Bethlehem, so he could come into Judah, so he could fulfill the prophecy. That's the only reason Judah was still left behind.
Yeah.
And they end up leaving in ships later on.
Right.
But the 9.5 had already been taken. Mm-hmm. They had already been over here in America long before Christopher Columbus was thought of. All right, so we're going to go to that book, History of the American Indians. If you could throw that excerpt up there for me. We're going to be on page 14. All right, and so this is the book. It's by James Adair. All right, and it's another one that is going to cost you a little bit. It's going to cost you a few hundred. All right, but if you invest in it, you're going to learn a lot.
They might be able to find a used one for cheap.
Right. Yeah.
You go on Amazon, you never know what you're going to get.
No doubt. But let's get that page 14. All right, so that should be that next picture coming up. And that's not the
No, that's not the page. That's not the page.
Try the previous one.
I got.
All right, go. While we're waiting for that, get Christopher Columbus, page 97.
Okay, and if not, I could read it. I could read the. If she can't find the page, we're trying to get it so you brothers and sisters can actually see. We're not reading out a comic book. We're reading out of these books, man, that have the evidence and facts in them. So go ahead and read it there, and hopefully she can get it up there so they can see it too.
Wait, is that it?
That's page 14. Yeah.
Perfect. All right. So we're gonna read from there. Up a little higher it says, "But truth is my object." All right. And then down at the highlighted portion down there it says, "From the most exact observations I could make in the long." Let's see.
And
Looks like long form. I traded among the Indian Americans. I was forced to believe they literally descended from the Israelites, either while they were a maritime power, meaning an ocean-going power as their navy, or soon after the general captivity The latter, however, is the most probable. So what he's saying is, by dealing with the Indians,
Right.
it made James Adair consider that these people got to be the lost tribes of Israel.
Right, right.
That I'm convinced. It says they were literally descended from the Israelites. See that? And that was either while they were by boat when they had a navy, or that they were when they were in captivity.
Right, because they knew the prophecy of Second Kings when the Most High said that after they would leave Assyria,
Right.
when you go into Esdras, it said they will go into another land.
Exactly. And what he's saying is or, right? He said whether they were maritime, meaning a naval power, navy,
Right.
or because of captivity. What he's not seeing is that it's both.
Yeah.
They went into captivity in ships.
Right. That's why I said when you get these books,
Right.
the facts are in there. You know, but once again, they don't have the knowledge. They don't have the scriptures. So they're not going to tell you. They're not going to tell you. Listen, the Most High didn't create it that way. Why? Because if it would just, the Bible just said Christ is a black man, that Bible wouldn't be here.
Right.
The so-called Negroes, you're going to rule the earth. The so-called Mexican man, you're going to rule the earth.
Exactly.
The Bible would have never made it. It wasn't meant like that. It was meant, like the scriptures say, precept upon precept, here a little, there a little. And even the evidence, you know what I mean? The Most High ain't give it to the so-called white man all. He ain't give it all to them.
Right, right.
You understand? He gave it to the chosen, and we had to go find the little evidence historically to put it together, be able to say, okay, these are the Israelites.
There you go. And there's a lot of pages I'm going to skip on this, but for the Lost Tribes and Promised Lands. But let's go to page 147.
We're in Lost Tribes and Promised Lands.
Yeah, there you go.
Another book.
All right.
So once again, in your Priest Shia's words, we're dropping some nuclear bombs here today.
Right, right. So there's not going to be any dispute after this.
You can't dispute it. And listen, if you're coming up and you're going to add tribes to this list, you want to talk about the 12 tribe sign. If you want to add tribes to this list, where is the evidence? Where is the facts?
Right.
Not just running your mouth, you understand, but the facts that go with the Bible, right?
Read that, page 147 in Lost Tribes and Promised Lands. And it's by Ronald Sanders. Go ahead.
Bernal Diaz goes a step further in sensing the presence of a familiar old brand of Oriental paganism.
Right, Oriental has nothing to do with the Western Hemisphere where these people landed. But he saw these Oriental things going on in the Western Hemisphere, over here in the Americas. Go ahead.
He thinks he sees traces of Jewish influence in the idols and temples he had come upon, brought over somehow by refugees from Titus' campaign against Palestine in the 1st century.
Wow. So what he's seeing is he was during the reign of Titus when Jerusalem was being destroyed, and he's seeing the same idols in the Americas as he had seen over in the Eastern Hemisphere in Rome and in Roman occupied Judea.
Wow.
See that? So that's what he's showing right there, and he's marveling over that. That how do these people know what these people are doing on the other side of the earth?
And this book right here, that's the Lost Tribe and Promised Land.
Right.
Now, this is one book that you can go on and it's expensive.
Right. That's $400 to start.
Yeah, it's one book you can go on there and it's expensive. Some of them you probably can get at a deal, but some of them they're not letting them go without paying a lot of money.
Exactly. Like Amazon had 4 copies of this and they were all $400. And then they had 4 copies that were $1,500. Where are you going to go from there? Get page 182. And we got a little time left, so the thing is, I want to you can get these books or get them in PDF form. I'll also post these excerpts on Facebook. Yeah. So you can, if you go to my page, Taha Wamayam, you can go on there and find these excerpts put on there photographically. Read that.
Since Lander was convinced that the Indians were descended from the lost tribes of Israel, he no doubt saw a special challenge in any signs of Marionism among them.
Right. So that's the thing is, he was convinced that the Indians were the lost tribes of Israel, and there's many that are going to say it the exact same way. This is a man named Landa. You got the Montesinos. You got these other men. They all knew. These Europeans knew that those were the lost tribes of Israel. All right. Go from there we're going to go and now we're going to show that there was Hebrew, the language of Hebrew. And I'm skipping a couple of pages in this book, Lost Tribes and Promised Lands, that you definitely want to get. But we're going to go to the Native Americans. That's this book here.
Okay.
All right. And we're going to go to page 137, or I'm sorry, 374. And what we're going to find out, there was similarities in the words. There was similarities in the language. And they're too deep a similarity to be on opposite sides of the planet.
Right.
All right. So what we're going to find out is there were men that were named in Hebrew. There were lands and objects that were named in Hebrew before the white man got here, before the Spaniards, the conquistadors, Leif Erikson even got here. All right. So we're on page 374.
Wow.
All right. And I have that underlined and highlighted.
They might burn this show up. I don't know if they're going to let this one go down.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Read that.
What page? 374, right?
There you go.
Okay. Do we got anything on that picture-wise out there?
Yeah.
Okay.
She should have the excerpt right there.
Okay.
It should be about the Hebrew, the language. All right. And we're going to read about Ishi, a Native American man, which another way to pronounce that is Aish or Ayash.
Right.
All right. Go ahead.
After a while, scholars from the universities of California's Berkeley campus who rescued the man from local gawkers learned that he was probably the very last member of the Yahi Indian band.
Now take note. It said after a while, niggas. What did it say? Read.
That D.B. Lyon.
No, from the top. After a while.
After a while, scholars.
Right. No, gang members.
After a while, scholars.
Black Power movement.
After a while, scholars.
Okay, scholars did what? Read.
From the University of California's Berkeley campus, who rescued the man from local gawkers, learned that he was probably the very last member of the Yahi Indian band.
Right. Now, if you look at just Yahi alone, and you'll see it when we go to the man's name, but Yahi has an I on it, but that Yah is an abbreviated form in Hebrew of the word Yahweh. It's the name that's given to the Most High all through the scriptures. All right, so you'll see that Yah or Lord, right? And that's in Hebrew. And all they did was they put another effeminate vowel sound at the end from being in Assyrian captivity.
Right, right.
And that's what you'll see even to this day as you speak modern Hebrew or this Yiddish that they have.
Wow.
Is there's an effeminate vowel sound on the end of a masculine word. All right, so this man came from the Yahi tribe or the Yahweh tribe. Go ahead.
That D.B. Lyon had pursued up the canyon 17 years before. Never learning his real name, they dubbed him Ishi.
Right, so they never learned this man's real name, so they called him Aish or Ayash, Ishi. Right, go ahead.
Or a man in his native tongue.
Or man in his native tongue. So in this Indian's native tongue, his name was Ayash or Ishi. Go ahead.
The eagerness.
Right, was that it on there?
Okay.
All right, so we're going to go from there. Go to page 19.
Wow, so you're just showing elements of how Hebrew
the
was
language.
in this native language.
There you go. There you go. So I want you to get this real quick. Sorry, History of the American Indians. She's going to put that excerpt up there. All right, it's History of the American Indians, page 19. All right, and that's going to be on the language ones or the Hebrew. There we go. Now this one is really hard to see. I'm gonna have to leave my seat for a second, or
yeah, go ahead.
And let's see.
Hold on. Could you see it? Do you have it on you?
I don't.
No. You're gonna need your mic.
Right.
You're gonna need your mic. You ain't gonna be able to do it, but
yeah, I'm trying to see if that picture's in here.
Yeah, let's get it up here real quick. Now this one is in what book is this? What book are we talking about?
This is the History of the American Indians by James Adair.
Right, and what page is that?
We're on page. It should be 15.
Page 15.
19, excuse me.
Page 19 here. Okay.
And for y'all at home, if you want, just get real close to the.
Yeah, we should. We didn't take a good enough picture. Put. No. We don't have the book. We left it. That's the thing. No, we left the book. Yeah, we left the book. It's on page 19. Wow. Well, put it up there again. You're going to have to take your mic with you and try to read it because I can't find it in here on our images.
Right. Let me get what I'll do is I'll bring the next one out.
And then we'll go into that, yeah.
Right. Get page 98 and 99 from Christopher Columbus. All right, from this book.
You said page 19 the other one was? Or 20?
It'd be 19 and 20, matter of fact. All right, so read that in that book there.
Right.
Of more interest than the mode of migration is the question of whether any analogies in language, in traditions, in religious conceptions, or in religious ceremonies justify the acceptance of this ethnological theory. Rodin's chief argument in support of his view is the language of the Indians is Hispaniola, Cuba, Jamaica, and the adjoining islands.
Right. So his analysis, of Hispaniola, Cuba, and Jamaica of their languages. So we're talking about the Jamaicans too. All right.
Right.
These are all tied in. Now you know the Jamaicans are dark skinned.
Right, because they're Arawak Indians.
There you go. Right.
They're
The Arabs, the Arawaks, the Caribs.
Yeah, the West Indians are Arawak Indians.
There we go. So these are dark skinned peoples to this day. Whether they, despite Spanish rape and pillaging. All right, read on.
He contends that it has many resemblances to the Hebrew.
So he's talking about the languages of the Cubans, the Jamaicans, the Hispaniola,
right,
and different color schemes all throughout, but they all have that similarity of Hebrew in their language.
Right, well, these are all the ones that they called savages.
Right.
These are the one, whether you're West Savage, you're a North American Savage, you know, that word Indian, that's what we're talking about. West Indian, North American Indian. So even, like you said, the tribe of Benjamin goes in on that.
Right.
Or what you call the West Indians.
Right.
Right.
Exactly. So that's what we're seeing here. Read on.
In fact, he even calls it corrupted Hebrew.
Right. He called it corrupted Hebrew, probably because it was more ancient than what he knew about.
Wow. Wow.
Read on.
He asserts that such names as Cuba and Haiti are Hebrew, and that they were first applied in the earliest caciques,
the chiefs.
The chiefs or leaders, Kassan,
right, go ahead,
who discovered and people the islands.
So the people that discovered the islands, they were the ones that named the islands first in Hebrew.
Wow.
Go ahead.
The names of rivers and of persons in use among the natives are derived from the Hebrew. For example, hyena,
right,
from the Hebrew, ain,
right, stream or eyes. Go ahead.
Stream, Yones, from Jonah.
Right, so y'all get the point. The excerpts up there, y'all see that this is going to go on and show you all these different names that were in Hebrew. These now, if you're a Chinese man, you're going to name the place in Chinese when you discover it.
Right, right.
Well, if you're African, you're going to name it in African. Why were these islands? Why were their tools and things named in Hebrew?
Right, these Native Americans. Right, right.
Because those were Hebrews discovered those.
Wow.
All right. So I got that excerpt from History of the American Indians, if you want to throw that back up.
It's on page 20, right?
Yeah, there's page 20, but I also needed 19.
Okay. See, I didn't have 19 on there, but yeah, page 20. Okay.
All right. So we'll read from page 20. It says, by a strict permanent divine precept, the Hebrew nation were ordered to worship at Jerusalem. Jehovah, or as we know him, Yahweh, the true and living God, and who by the Indians is still Yahweh, which the 72 interpreters...
Wait a minute. So the Native Americans were not using Ahaya, they were using Yahweh.
They were using Yahweh.
Right.
In History of the American Indians, right? Which the 72 interpreters, either from ignorance or superstition, have translated Adonai, and is the very name as the Greek Kyrios, signifying sir, lord, or master.
Right.
Right, so that's basically showing you right there that these Native Americans were calling on the name of Yahweh.
Right.
They were calling on the Most High. They weren't just praying to all all their other gods.
Right. Well, like in all Israel.
Right.
You had some that stuck to the commandments, stuck to the Most High.
There you go.
But regardless, we as a nation went into captivity.
Exactly.
You know, it wasn't just because, oh, you have a few percent that was locked in or still serving the Creator.
Right.
You know what I mean? They were going to avoid this punishment.
Right.
As a nation, it fell upon all the nation.
There you go. And you know, we got 3 minutes left. So what I want you to do is play that Glenn Beck clip, because this is another thing. Not only do people of that time know what you don't know, but the people in this time, the so-called white man that got power in this time.
Yeah, let us say this. If it cuts off, brothers and sisters, you'll get the rest on YouTube. We're going to keep recording so this information, these nuclear bombs can get out and destroy these lies, okay? So go ahead and play the clip.
Right.
Of 606 feet, 606 feet, 606 feet.
And what you're seeing here, the kind of intro to it, he's basically giving the outline of how the pyramids were the exact same. The pyramids in Central and South America were the exact same angles as the ones in Egypt.
And if anybody knows this guy right here, because this guy right here, man, first of all, if you know Glenn Black, the Most High must have had to get in his brain and drop this, because why? He got fired. He got fired from Fox for dropping this. You know what I mean? Because the information he comes out in this whole segment is just so on point that they had to get him out of there for that.
Is exactly the same angle as
and that's
the
what he's
pyramids
doing.
of
He's
Giza. It is the same math,
exactly the same angle as the pyramids
as ancient
in
Egyptians. Let me show you
but
one
they
more
use
connection.
the same math.
Right, showing you that us as Israelites, we build the pyramids.
Right. Now here's where he's going to drop about the language.
Near those earthworks, and he found a wooden coffin made of oak. They opened up the coffin and found a skeleton of a man holding a little box that was about 8.10 inches in size. The box had been cemented shut here. This, by the way, is sitting in Ohio. Well, he opened up the box and he found a little man inside, a little black stone. They took it to scholars and they looked at it. The man seems to be carrying something, and there's writing here at first they couldn't recognize. The writing is, they thought in 1860, some sort of Hebrew. Well, finally, about 20 years later, they found some rabbis living in the area, and the rabbis looked at that and they could read it. They said it was an old kind of block Hebrew, and it was a rendition of the 10 Commandments. Now
this is in Cleveland, Ohio, in America. They found this in block form.
Hebrew.
In the Hebrew you can't even read no more.
Mainstream archaeologists at the time called this a hoax.
Modern Hebrew.
Right.
But then in 1900, or just about after 1900, in Israel, they found the same block-style Hebrew writing. Mainstream archaeologists still dismiss the findings. They found it in Israel, and they found it in Ohio. But there was another stone that they found that they couldn't argue. This is the Bat Creek stone. It was found during the course of an official Smithsonian evacuation. The Smithsonian didn't understand the meaning of the writing on the stone. They thought it was Cherokee, since it came from Cherokee country. They didn't realize.
Check that out. So that's showing you the Cherokees,
the Seminoles,
the Seminoles.
They had published this originally upside down. They threw it in a box at the bottom of the Smithsonian, put it in the basement. Many years later, a scholar took it out of the box, looked at it, and went, oh my gosh, it's upside down. It's Phoenician, ancient Hebrew.
Yeah,
So
that's
what's
why they fired this guy. I don't think he really understood what he was saying.
Right.
Where
he
is
doesn't
that
even know what
history?
he's
He doesn't even know what he's saying.
I'll show you in a few minutes, and we're gonna have a
Yeah, he
conversation.
doesn't.
I'm gonna
That's
show
why
some
he
more
got
things that-
fired.
Exactly.
The Smithsonian, science, government, commerce colluded to erase.
Right. So that's it on that one.
By the way, I
Wow.
want to thank the directors of the documentary.
Yeah, but no,
Lost
but this he
Civilizations
even goes deeper, man. In the
Oh, yeah.
when you look at that, he goes about the 9.5
Right.
on that. But go ahead. What else we got?
And now, what I really want to kill is this Bering Strait idea.
Okay.
All right, because this is something we're going to get the book, The Native Americans, again, and go to page 28. And we're going to find out from the Native Americans' mouth if they believe they came over on the Bering Strait.
Right, right.
Because this is something, you know, you hear a lot of brothers trying to drop this and say, oh, yeah, they came, you know, when they trying to engraft these other nations, these heathens, those, or when they're trying to, excuse me, when they're trying to get the Native Americans out of the chart,
right,
they say that, oh, they're Chinese and came over on the Bering Strait.
Oh, no, no.
Right. So let's see if the Native Americans believe they came over on the Bering Strait. Read that, page 28 at the top. And you can put that excerpt up there. There we go. That way they can follow along. Read that.
Australopithecus emerged on
No. The top, the gray.
The top, the bean.
The Bering Strait, the so-called Bering Strait theory.
Right, the so-called Bering Strait theory. Go ahead.
The Bering Strait theory is tenaciously held by white scholars
By
against...
who?
By white scholars.
So who doggedly, tenaciously holds on to this idea?
White scholars.
Right, go ahead.
Against the varied migration traditions of the natives.
Right, they hold that against the ones the natives actually tell.
And it's like I was saying earlier, there's a lot of information that goes with the Bible.
Right.
That the so-called white man will bring out.
Right.
But there's another so-called white man that want to go against that.
Right.
They don't want that information to get out. So a lot of brothers ask, well, you're using the white man's history books. Well, simple brother, the thing is that they're in a war against themselves. Why? Why did the Most High scatter us amongst the nations?
Right.
That way they can get the 1% of Cherokee in them, and then Indian in them, and then feel like what? Oh, I'm a part.
Right.
So this is why this is the plan of the Most High. So they got a third of a Arapaho Indian.
Right.
You know, they feel like they're connected, so they want to bring out this information. You know, and this is why a lot of brothers and sisters, well, why are you using this? Because these facts are meant to be here to establish even more the word.
Exactly. They're not understanding the earth helped the woman. That scripture is how the nations are going to help us find out who we are.
Exactly.
These other people printing these books are going to help us find out who we are.
And a lot of it, it's funny because a lot of it, like one of the books that we have, which is off the Coesel of the 13 Tribes.
Right.
But you know, Yeshaya got an older one to where it's 300 and some pages.
Right.
And he was like, okay, go in this book. And when we open ours, there ain't that many pages because they took those pages out that said that the Negro or the Jews were nappy heads.
Right.
You know, they took that out and reprinted the book. Exactly. So as this information comes out, they destroy a lot of it. They reprint them and leave that out.
Right. So go ahead and read on in that. Listen, again, we're showing what the Native Americans thought of the Bering Strait theory.
Right.
Go ahead.
And is an example of the triumph of doctrine over facts.
Right. It's a triumph of doctrine over facts. Go ahead.
Excavating ancient fireplaces and campsites may be exciting, but there are no well-worn paths which clearly show migratory patterns from Asia to North America.
Right. So as we're reading this, I want you to open up the picture from the Bering Strait. What they show us. What do they show us about the Bering Strait? Or what did they used to show us? This is how they made the Bering Strait look to y'all simple cats. They made it look like it just directly connected right to from Alaska to Russia, from Alaska to China.
Right.
All right. This is the actual satellite image of the Bering Strait. It's not a land bridge. This is what it looks like. That's 50 miles from that place to that other place.
So the Bering Strait ideal is smashed.
Right. There's no footprints like the woman is saying in the excerpt because there's no place to put footprints. There's no land there. There's no land mass. All right. That's 50 miles in diameter. Get the next map clip up there, and it's going to show you also 50 miles between the States and Russia. All right, and that's water in between there.
Right.
All right. So we're dealing with how would it look for these hundreds of thousands of so-called Siberians or Chinese to come across there? The next picture is going to show you what that would look like. They'd have to cross this with their children, with their families.
Right.
Try to bring boats through that?
So
No.
to destroy that lie, that lie's out of there.
Exactly. And that's why there's no footprints in the sand to establish that so-called theory, like the Native American woman is saying in the book.
Right, right. Brothers and sisters, we're going to thank y'all. We're going to thank y'all for tuning in to our show. You brothers and sisters going to get a little more on YouTube. We had to cut it off the live feed, but we're here every Tuesdays at 8:30. Check us out on Houston Media Source. You can check us out live also. Tuesdays at 8:30, Houston Media Source, and click the live link. We like to say Shalom, which is peace unto you.
Shalom.
Shalom.